sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real.
Ain't nobody don't ask me. I'm just so
Buttons and they close the curtain. Y'all know it's 10 and I.
Somebody hit me the other day for a rendezvous. Was it the winch that cut the goodie and the dungeon crew? Let's say.
And the whole world loves it when you sing. Y'all telling me that I need to get out and vote, huh? Why? Ain't nobody black running but 1, 2, 3. My baby don't mess around because she loves.
Now throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care. And
Leave my heaters in the trunk along with that quad lock. No, my heart don't pump no Kool-Aid. Jumping you. 1 for the money, yes sir, 2 for the show. A couple of years ago,
The rock to represent the dungeon family like Grade A. Me and my decide to take the back way. We stabbing every city. We never relaxing. Outkast is everlasting. Not clashing, not at all. But see, my went to do a little.
Caroline. See Caroline, all the guys would say she's mine.
You think you know Outkast. The Grammy wins, the unforgettable hits, the wild outfits, all wrapped in Southern charm and eccentric genius. But here's what they didn't tell you. Behind the music, there was tension, lawsuits, silent fallouts. One half of the duo vanished from rap completely, and the other just kept building empires. At one point, they were so big they turned down a 100 million tour. And the reason? It had nothing to do with money, and everything to do with the man in a velvet turban who once declared, "The South got something to say." So, yeah, you know the songs, but do you know why Outkast fell apart? Or why Andre 3000 basically ghosted the entire industry, only to return decades later with a flute? Stick around till the end, because the full story only clicks once you hear the twist behind their so-called comeback and why it might never happen again. Before they were rap royalty, they were just 2 Atlanta teenagers geeking out over Tribe Called Quest albums in a basement. Andre Benjamin, the artsy misfit with a head full of ideas. Antoine Patton, the smooth talker with street smarts and bars. Total opposites, but the second they linked up at Tri-Cities High School, magic. They'd sit around listening to De La Soul, Raheem the Dream, even TLC and DOS EFX, dissecting every lyric, every beat. And one day they said, "Wait, we can do this. Actually, we can do it better." They didn't just rap. They studied the craft, the storytelling, the flow, the vibe. And in a city that was barely on the hip-hop map, they were about to change the game from the inside out. Then came Southernplayalisticadillacmuzik. Total mouthful, total masterpiece. Their debut single, Players Ball, hit #1 on the Billboard rap charts. And suddenly, the world had no choice but to pay attention to the South. But this was just the beginning. Everything shifted the night Outkast got booed at the Source Awards. It was 1995. The room was packed with East Coast versus West Coast tension. Suge Knight had just thrown shade at Puff. Death Row was barking loud. Bad Boy was on edge. And in walks Outkast. 2 kids from Atlanta, winning Best New Artist and getting booed for it. Seriously, booed. Andre 3000 stood there in a green velvet turban, watching the crowd turn cold. Big Boi looked ready to swing, but then Dre grabbed the mic and dropped the line that would echo for decades, "The South got something to say." Boom. Just like that, he shifted the axis of hip-hop. That wasn't just a clapback. It was a declaration, a warning, a cultural reset. From that point on, Outkast wasn't just a Southern rap duo. They were the voice of the South, the outsiders who forced their way into the conversation and refused to be boxed in. And the crazy part? They hadn't even dropped their best work yet. Outkast was on fire. With ATLiens and Aquamini, they leveled up, blending funk, sci-fi, soul, and Southern swagger into something the world had never heard. Critics were floored. Fans were obsessed. Suddenly, Atlanta was the center of the hip-hop universe. But success? It came with shadows. In 1999, Outkast dropped Rosa Parks, a bouncy, harmonica-laced anthem. The catch? Civil rights icon Rosa Parks didn't approve. She sued the group, claiming they used her name without permission. The media went wild. Hip-hop fans were divided. Was this a tribute or exploitation? Outkast fought back. The lawsuit dragged on, and just when things got heated, Rosa's own family stepped in, calling out her legal team for using her name for clout. The case was eventually dropped. But the message was clear. Outkast wasn't afraid of controversy, and they weren't done in court. That same year, they clapped back at a local Atlanta duo, also calling themselves ATLiens. Outkast wasn't having it. That name was sacred. A trademark battle followed. The underground group never stood a chance. But while the lawsuits played out in public, a quieter tension was brewing in private. Andre was evolving too fast. He traded baggy jeans for feather boas, started skipping interviews, and dove headfirst into weird, artsy experimentation. Big Boi? Still grounded, still Southern, still trying to keep the group's rhythm intact. Fans didn't know it yet, but behind the genre-bending brilliance, the cracks had already begun to show. By 2000, Outkast wasn't just ahead of the curve. They were the curve. And then came Stankonia, a sonic explosion. Dirty South beats, psychedelic chaos, political bars, and pop hooks. It was chaos, and it worked. B.O.B. So fresh, so clean, and of course, Ms. Jackson. That one hit different. A heartfelt, painfully catchy apology to an ex's mom. It went #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and snagged them a Grammy. But the real drama? Ms. Jackson was allegedly about Andre's breakup with Erykah Badu. Let's just say love and art were starting to blur. And Andre? He was drifting. He started showing up to red carpets in wigs and furry pants, doing fewer interviews, and dropping cryptic quotes about losing interest in rap. Meanwhile, Big Boi was still in grind mode. Touring, writing, pushing the brand. The creative tension wasn't just obvious, it was baked into their next move. Speakerboxxx, The Love Below dropped in 2003. 2 albums, 1 package. Andre went full Prince meets David Bowie with Hey Ya. Big Boi kept it classic ATL with The Way You Move, a commercial and critical smash, Grammy for Album of the Year. But here's the twist. They barely recorded it together. Outkast had just made history while moving in completely opposite directions. Was it a victory lap or a quiet goodbye? On the surface, Speakerboxxx, The Love Below was a masterpiece. 2 platinum-selling solo albums wrapped into 1 historic drop. Outkast had done the impossible, created one of the best-selling double albums of all time, fused genres, and won a Grammy for Album of the Year. But behind the scenes, it was a breakup in slow motion. Let's be real. This wasn't really an Outkast album. It was 2 separate worlds stitched together. Big Boi's Speakerboxxx stayed true to Southern rap, bass-heavy, lyrical, and rooted in Atlanta grit. Andre's The Love Below was a psychedelic, genre-defying fever dream. Funk, jazz, pop, experimental soul. It had everything except rap. And that was the point. Andre barely rapped on it. He played guitar, sang falsetto, and danced around in wigs. Hey Ya became a global anthem, but it also marked a farewell to the Outkast we once knew. The 2 barely saw each other in the studio. They promoted the album separately. Their creative visions were now galaxies apart, and it showed. Fans loved the music, but couldn't ignore the weird energy. Where was the unity? Where was the chemistry that made Outkast legendary? And it didn't help that Andre started distancing himself even more. Interviews became rare. Public appearances? Almost non-existent. He talked about feeling out of place in rap. said the lifestyle didn't fit him anymore, even admitted he was losing the confidence to write verses at all. Meanwhile, Big Boi was still riding the wave, doing interviews, performing, handling the business. Outkast was now 2 solo acts wearing the same jersey. Behind the platinum plaques and awards, something was breaking. And after their next project, the soundtrack to Idlewild in 2006, the silence became deafening. No tour, no promo, no next album. The duo that once demanded the world's attention suddenly disappeared. So what happened? Was Andre just over it? Did Big Boi try to hold it together? Or were they both quietly ready to walk away, just too proud to say it out loud? After Idlewild dropped in 2006, it felt like Outkast just evaporated. No big farewell, no tour, no dramatic public fallout, just silence. Fans were confused. One minute, they were the biggest duo in music. The next, gone. The truth? Andre 3000 had already started drifting long before the music stopped. He wasn't vibing with rap anymore. He'd show up in movies, random guest verses, or wearing a flute around his neck at the airport. But a full project? Not happening. Andre started opening up about his creative struggles. The same guy who gave us Rosa Parks and Ms. Jackson now admitted he didn't even feel motivated to write. "My focus isn't there. My confidence isn't there," he said in an interview. "I tinker, but I haven't been inspired to do a serious project." He wasn't being difficult. He was being honest. Andre said he felt disconnected from rap, from fame, even from his own voice. And when you're known as one of the greatest of all time, that kind of doubt hits different. Meanwhile, Big Boi never stopped. He kept dropping solo albums, doing interviews, and staying visible. But it was clear, Outkast as we knew it was done. The emotional weight was heavier than most people realized. Andre later said being famous sucked, that it felt inhuman, unnatural. He couldn't even take his kid to the park without being chased. He missed normalcy, peace, silence. And get this, they reportedly turned down $100 million worth of tour offers, including a Super Bowl performance. Why? Because Andre didn't want to do it unless it felt right. He wasn't about to fake the chemistry for a check. It's wild to think about. One of the most iconic duos in music, broken not by scandal, ego, or betrayal, but by silence, fatigue, and the quiet unraveling of 2 friends going in different directions. Outkast didn't burn out. They faded on purpose. But was it really over? Or was there still something left in the tank? So what happens when one of the greatest rappers of all time just stops rapping? Andre 3000 didn't retire. He transformed, but not into what anyone expected. Years passed with no album, no tour, no return to form. Instead, fans started spotting him wandering random cities, sometimes barefoot, always carrying a flute, no entourage, no PR rollout. Just Andre, playing wind instruments at coffee shops and street corners, like a mythical jazz monk. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It was who he'd become. And then, out of nowhere, in 2023, he dropped New Blue Sun, a full-length instrumental album made entirely of flutes, bells, and ambient sounds. No lyrics, no beats, just vibes. Fans were stunned. Was this a joke? Was he trolling? But Andre made it clear, this wasn't about trends or expectations. It was the only thing that felt authentic. "I've tried to write," he admitted, "but I don't have anything to say in that way. I'm 48. I don't want to rap about my colonoscopy or my declining eyesight." He wasn't being dramatic. He was being real. He said rap had become a lifestyle he no longer related to. The fame, the flexing, the bars, it all felt forced. He needed space to breathe, to feel again. And yet, there was pain in his honesty. Andre knew his fans wanted more, that he had more to give. But for him, this flute album wasn't a left turn. It was the only road forward. Meanwhile, Big Boi was still in full motion, building businesses, mentoring youth, and performing like nothing changed. But even he admitted, when it comes to Andre, you can't force it. So, was this Andre's reinvention? A quiet rebellion against the machine? Or was it just him slowly backing away, trying to reclaim something the spotlight had stolen? Either way, one thing was clear. Andre wasn't lost. He was just somewhere else entirely. After years of silence and speculation, Outkast finally made their big return in 2014. Fans lost their minds. The group announced a 20th anniversary reunion tour, headlining major festivals, including the Holy Grail, Coachella. It felt like a dream come true. The legends were back. The South was about to speak again. But then, things got weird. Their first performance at Coachella wasn't the triumphant homecoming people expected. The energy was off. The chemistry? Strained. Big Boi was in performance mode. Confident, locked in, giving it his all. But Andre? Andre looked distant, detached, like he was somewhere else entirely. He was wearing a platinum blonde wig, a t-shirt that read, "I'm sorry," and barely engaging with the crowd. At one point, he even turned away from the audience during songs. Fans were confused. Was he nervous? Bored? Regretful? The internet lit up with speculation. Something was off. Later, Andre explained what really happened, and it only made things more heartbreaking. He admitted he hadn't been on stage in nearly 15 years and felt completely out of place. He had never used in-ear monitors, and during the show, there were voices talking in his ears the entire time. Disorienting, chaotic. He said halfway through the performance, he mentally checked out. In his own words, "I was already in my bed at home." The next morning, Andre got a call from Prince. Yes, that Prince. They weren't close. He had no idea how Prince even got his number. But Prince didn't waste words. He told Andre, "You don't realize how big y'all are." It hit Andre like a ton of bricks. He'd been running from the spotlight for so long, he forgot how much his presence mattered. Not just to fans, but to music itself. Still, even with Prince's pep talk, the rest of the tour felt like a bittersweet victory lap. Outkast performed dozens of shows, but fans kept noticing the disconnect. Some nights, Andre brought the energy. Other nights, he looked like he wanted to disappear. Big Boi, ever the professional, kept it moving. But you could tell he knew this wasn't forever. He later said that convincing Andre to do the tour at all had taken years. And even then, it wasn't easy. So, was this a comeback? Or just closure? The Coachella performance revealed what hardcore fans had feared all along. Outkast wasn't broken. They were just on different frequencies. Andre was searching for peace. Big Boi was chasing purpose. They loved each other, but they weren't the same duo anymore. Sometimes, you don't need a breakup to end something. You just grow apart. Outkast may not have gone out with a bang, but make no mistake, their legacy still echoes through every corner of music and culture. From redefining what Southern rap could sound like, to making weird cool long before it was trending, Andre 3000 and Big Boi rewrote the rules. They didn't just push boundaries, they erased them. They gave us genre-bending classics like Stankonia, ATLiens, and The Love Below. They turned heartbreak into chart toppers, wore wigs and kilts to rap shows, sued dance duos over the word ATLiens, and turned their Source Awards booing into a battle cry for an entire region. The South got something to say. And even apart, they never stopped creating. Big Boi became a father, a businessman, a mentor, still touring, still dropping projects, still grinding with that Southern confidence. Meanwhile, Andre wandered off the map, making ambient flute albums, showing up unannounced at open mics, and dropping wisdom about fame, fear, and authenticity that most artists spend lifetimes chasing. Together, they built a catalog that refuses to age, a cultural blueprint, and a mystique that no PR campaign could ever manufacture. Their combined net worth? Around $65 million. But honestly, their impact is priceless. They inspired a generation of artists to be fearless, to be weird, to be themselves, even if it meant walking away when the whole world was begging for more. And maybe that's why we still care. Because deep down, we're all still waiting for one more album, one more tour, one more moment when the South speaks through Outkast one last time. But with Andre on a spiritual flute journey, and Big Boi flipping real estate and mentoring the next generation, maybe this is the final chapter. Then again, when has Outkast ever done what we expected? So what do you think? Is this the end of Outkast? Or just the quiet before something legendary?